Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's eCIFM webinar, Untether Your Workforce, Mobile Solutions for IBM TriRiga. We're going to go ahead and get started. And allow me to introduce today's presenter, Sharon Castro. Cher serves as VP of Development, leading product strategy for eCIFM On The Go Mobile Solutions and TriRiga Add-on Solutions. Cher was a vice president and founding member of TriRiga, where she had several roles, including the leader of development. Since then, Cher has run most of the TriRiga technical teams, acted as the leader of the customer advisory board, and most recently was the TriRiga product manager at IBM. She is also regarded as one of the top TriRiga experts in the world. eCIFM is a premier IBM business partner and a certified value-added reseller for IBM TriRiga. eCIFM has achieved the gold accreditation for deployment of TriRiga. Our team includes certified TriRiga developers and experts who collectively offer over 40 years experience with facilities management and other TriRiga solutions. Cher, over to you.
Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get started today with our content. So I am unable to advance the slide at this point. If you could help me do that, thank you. So today we're going to talk about how you can untether your team from their desks and let them be enabled with updating requests, doing reporting, updating their work, and more with the eCIFM mobile suite of applications that we call On The Go. So, some of the things that we're going to talk about today are who benefits from our solutions, what our tools are, as well as how you can use them, to really get your TriRiga applications into your users' hands out in the field. So this is really a tool that will help you take all of that information that you have on your desktop on TriRiga, and for those users, those workers that are out in the field, whether they're doing work tasks, they're doing inspections, they're working with your inventory, they're supervising those tasks, being able to access that information in a really easy to use way that is targeted directly towards those specific users to get their work done in a more efficient method, as well as being able to comply with whatever your workflow processes are and get the data that you need to do the reporting upstream. So if we move forward to the next slide, what we're talking about, we have a set of applications that help a variety of users. And what we're going to talk about today are our applications for supervisors and managers, for inspectors, technicians, and inventory managers. When we think about supervisors, we know that many of our supervisors are out in the field. Some of them are working supervisors and they're actually doing work as well as supervising teams, but they're also out there inspecting the work that has been done, dispatching those teams, and being able to respond to customers. And then our technicians are really the folks that are doing the work. They're hands-on. They need to understand what's been assigned to them, and then do that work to satisfy the customers or the occupants of that building. We have inspectors who are out there really looking at the assets that are in play, the buildings and those building systems, so that they can understand and prioritize any deficiencies and opportunities out there within the buildings, as well as inventory managers who are meeting the needs of those technicians as they need parts and equipment to do that work. So if we go to the next slide. Again, so we're looking at our supervisors. What do they need to do to meet those customer needs, those occupants that are in their buildings quickly and efficiently? Well, one of their biggest jobs is to make sure that their teams have the right assignments of work to do, that they understand how they're loaded. Does somebody have more work on a given day than somebody else, and maybe adjusting those assignments, then reviewing the work that is done for each of those individuals and approving the time entries behind them and reviewing, any tasks that are overdue and need to get completed. So as we look at our applications and on the go, one of the biggest things, if we move to the next slide, is here we're managing the assignments. So I can see any work that is unassigned, maybe work that's being worked today or that is overdue, look at my team, see how much time they have remaining in their schedule, and be able to assign tasks to those different members, perhaps removing assignments when they're overloaded or overbooked, and assigning tasks, escalating tasks if there's something where somebody else needs help because it's something that needs more skills. So if we look at the next slide, I might even want to be able to drill into the details of what's in a specific set of assignments. I can see that Ben has 3 hours remaining of work to do, but he's got 2 tasks that are overdue from the past that need to get done. So we can take all of that information into account, make those assignments, and make sure that my team is balanced and that is that they're loaded properly. And if I go to the next slide, I can also look at, what have they been working on as I'm looking at a particular set of, their time entries and what they've done so far, any comments that they have, and then approve or maybe return them for more clarification. All right, if we go on to the next slide. So another area that can help your teams get data into their hands is around condition assessments. So in TriRiga, as those of you on the phone know, we do a set of building system assessments. So we can go in, we can look at those, the systems within that building, define what condition they're in, any risks that are outstanding. And at eCIFM, we've created an add-on to facility condition assessment that goes beyond that to take your high-value assets and also be able to assess the condition of those specific assets when they're out in the field, and then take that data and roll it up into a asset condition index, and then even further up into the facility condition index. That way we can identify opportunities that are not only for the system, but also that revolve around specific assets. And you can identify which of those assets are that, are the most important, but, you may have some high value chillers that are out there, and those are systems that you need to make sure you truly understand what condition they're in, any opportunities or deficiencies that need to be addressed, and then take that into account when you're looking at the bigger picture for your building. In addition, similar to technicians that are working on other types of tasks, we can log the time that it takes to do these different assessments and create automated time entries. And I mentioned that we can also track opportunities for each of those inspections. So as we're going through, we're creating those time entries that then get pushed back to the supervisor that we just talked about for approvals. So if we move on to the next slide. So here's just an example of, here are the tasks as an inspector that I have assigned to me, and I may want to take one of those tasks. I can see that I've got several systems that I'm supposed to inspect. I have one of those that's completed, and I can drill into any one of those inspections. If I go to the next slide. And from there, I can quickly tap to assess the condition of that. And this is all driven from that dynamic data that we have in TriRiga that you can define as your business process. We can create that assessment, also go look at the assets that are underneath that and be able to assign that. We even have users that use this process to not only view existing assets, but also to identify and add assets into the system that may not yet be collected and tracked in TriRiga. So if we move on to the next slide. So another big area where we help people out in the field with work is around technicians. So, we have many customers that we go and talk to that are still using paper and printed work orders, and they're starting to adapt to TriRiga or have already adopted TriRiga to, automate that process. and be able to understand all the information that is for a specific set of work. And that could be for corrective work, it could be for preventative work, it could be for planned work. So if we look at those work tasks that are in Tririga that get assigned to technicians, this basically gives all the information to that technician in the palm of their hand, whether it's the procedures that are behind that technician, the parts that are required for that particular task, assets that are associated with that particular task, and the work history behind that asset, as well as being able to take and collect and review meter readings that potentially are associated with that asset, comments, resolutions, including things where they track the RCA or simple resolution descriptions, depending on what your processes are, and along with the different resources that are used to manage that particular task. With that, we also allow them to track their time. Again, this is a simple process that once they start working, they can just tap a button and it will start a timer. And when they're done, they can tap another button and they can log that time and put in any comments behind it. If we go on to the next slide, we can see just a quick example of a technician's dashboard and the data that's behind that they can understand what is due today and in the future. And then next slide. And all of our applications have a similar type of dashboard. We're just showing that one here. We can see the tasks that are for that technician. So there's certain tasks that are for that technician. There are timers that are associated with those tasks, as well as all the different details. I can see just very quickly by looking at this task that I have some time entries against it. There's comments, there's request details that I can go look at. And as I go task by task, I can see the different details that are associated, including things like a floor plan and the details of the request. We go to the next slide. And then finally, I can log my time directly against a task, but I also have a view of my timesheet, so I can see, my different time that has been submitted for or available for that day. And if you're using this in conjunction with our supervisor application, we have yet another Tririga add-on to manage that time approval. So you can submit your time and then send that to the supervisor for approval. We have different options here where you can set your application settings for on the go to say, oh, yes, I want my technicians to submit time, or as they create time entries, automatically send them up to the supervisors for approval. Or, you may not be using that supervisor approval process at all. You're just tracking time to understand the costs behind it. All right, so if we move on to the next slide, another area where we're automating these processes for our Tririga users is around inventory. So for facility management inventory, there are different tasks that need to be done by our inventory managers and our inventory clerks, things like counting inventory and issuing inventory, as well as tracking their time, just like our other users' time, that can be done right from our mobile application. So here, when it comes time to count inventory, again, we can create those simple Tririga count tasks against those inventory locations that need to be counted, and they can quickly take those tasks, evaluate each of the items, count each of those items, track their progress through those count tasks, and then sync that data back up to Tririga. And we can do things like scan barcodes to be able to find the different items within the list, as well as track what the differences are, the discrepancies between what's expected in that location and what is actually in that location. If you also, you can go in and for each of those inventory items, look at if there are any items that are on hold. So as technicians are doing tasks, they may request parts that are in inventory. They can see any of those hold requests that are from the technicians or from other people within the organization. And as that person comes up and asks for their parts, they can search against all of the different hold requests that are out there for that person, or do it by using a barcode, many different ways to find those different items and then issue that inventory to the person who has requested it. And then, as I mentioned before, track that time and have that submitted back to their supervisor. So if we look at the next slide, here you can see, similar to our other task types, we can find those inventory account tasks. If we go to the next slide, and each of those items that need to be counted, you can log what the actual amount is, what the difference is, add a comment if it's required, and see your progress as you go. So here, they've counted 7 of the 13 items in this particular location that were required to be counted. So we can track all of that information. And these are just some quick highlights of the functionality in the application. Obviously, there are more details that we can get into in a deeper demo in the future, but we thought it would be good to just give you some highlights and understand how we've really tried to simplify how the user interacts with the system, make sure that they have data in the palm of their hands, whether it's here like is shown on an iPad or on an Android tablet, an iPhone, an Android phone, whatever those mobile devices are, and that all of the data that you see can be worked whether you're online or offline. So if you have certain areas within your buildings, and if you can go on to the next slide, that don't have the best connectivity, if you've got remote locations, all of that data can be accessed right from your fingertips, including things like creating new requests, creating new work tasks. If there's something that the technician finds out in the field and they're going to fix right then and there, they can create their work tasks, log their time, pull in the right assets, the right parts, all offline if they need to. It is something that we have been doing for years. Mobile applications, the first eCIFM mobile applications were on Palm OS. Obviously, I joined a couple of years ago and have been working with the more recent versions that are for Android and iOS, as well as the new iPad OS. But this is something that we've been doing a long time and have a lot of experience and have had some great feedback from our customers on how we can really keep it clean and simple and easy to use and directed towards the specific users who are using the applications. And it does work seamlessly with whatever your TriRiga environment is, whether it's something that you're hosting yourself, it's something that's hosted by IBM, or it's hosted by a separate SaaS provider. And all of that is done without a third-party server. So, we're just using what's installed on the application and what's installed in TriRiga to be able to do that communication and integrate between those things, all having the data that you need specifically for that technician on the device and have a background sync process to push and pull data as required from TriRiga. All right, next slide. So with that, we wanted to open it up for questions. Do any of you have any questions out there?
Chair, I'm checking the attendee chat just to make sure we haven't had any messages posted. Feel free to write in your comments. We'll give you a minute if you have any questions you would like to ask Cher.
So we don't have any yet, so I will mention a couple that we've had in the past. So one of the questions that we have had in the past is around single sign-on. So some of our customers are using SAML in their TriRiga environments. That is something that we support with our mobile applications, as well as native TriRiga authentication. And we use that using all of the base TriRiga functionality to connect to TriRiga. Next question is around costs. I am the technical person. I have to admit that I don't have all of those at my fingertips, but we can certainly get to the details around costs with you specifically. It is a model. We have two different options. It's a per device cost, and you can have a monthly subscription, or you can purchase a license similar to Tririga with those two different options. And I think I'm going to defer what the base start cost is to the sales team. I don't know if we have anybody on here who wants to answer that question, but we can come back to that.
Sure, we can have Ken follow up with that question
Okay.
once we conclude the webinar. That would be fine.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I don't see any additional questions.
All right. So we definitely want to thank everybody for attending. We do have a trial of On the Go that we can set up for you. Our applications are in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And basically, there's a process to get the background information installed into Tririga to do that sync. And we also have a demo environment that we can set you up with to take a look at the application. So we have Ken as a contact here who can help you take a look and give you also more details about the pricing.
Thank you, Cher. I think that concludes our webinar for today. We have recorded the webinar and we will be posting this out on our website and social feeds. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.